It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Hancock from the Sonoran Desert out west of Phoenix on the land, where we're getting, a lot healthier, a little physical labor, not eating crap, not drinking crap, being off of the city crap, and you just get to feel better. I've lost like 35 pounds, gained a few pounds on 2-week vacation. It'll take me 3 weeks to get rid of that, but this is what we're going to be talking about is a healthy body. But there's a lot of components that go into it that include your mind. We may touch on that a little bit. We're going to be doing a show on that here directly. I'm really feeling the attack on us. I mean, we are under attack. And what I want to do is Tim James, he is a, podcast host, but he also runs Chemical Free Body, Natural Energy. Now, he has some products and so on. We'll go over that, but we got to go over his story and build up to, get educated so we can understand what we need to be doing. Now, I don't, have a lot of affiliates on, Vitamins of Health. I get a lot of offers and so on and everything, but if I use a product, which I have yet, we're going to I'll let you know. Because I think we're in a good position because we don't have a lot of variables out here. I mean, we are out in the middle of, whatever, they put in the atmosphere, you're subject to that, but hopefully we're out a little bit far enough. I mean, we have, I can see Orion's sword. I mean, you're way out, and the influences, clean air, clean water, clean food, growing a lot of this stuff, not having the stresses of the city, the biggest stress I get is, doing shows and publishing Freedom's Phoenix, damn, you guys are in a world of hurt. We're going to try and fix that. Now, Tim, had health problems, to the point, I'll let him do it. I don't want to list all his, conditions, but it was, serious digestive problems that were going on. He started seeing, very close loved ones die of cancer. He went on his own search for health, and this is where we find it. It's always some individual with the persistence and information, which the internet allows, but it also allows for us to be inundated with BS from every freaking vector. So we're going to try and plow through that. Now, what got me interested, I met Tim at Anarchapulco, and we had a conversation. Charlie Robinson, the big proponent, he encouraged us to talk to him, and just a little bit, and I heard, structured water. And I immediately went to a good friend of mine, is very involved in that, even funded some research on that, and was very, very convincing in me, reading the book, going over on the professor that had the scientist that discovered the benefits of structured water. Now, I've heard about this for decades. This has been a thing, and you start hearing, it's a long story, but the point is, it exists, it's effective, and people are starting to bring this technology and this understanding to us. I wanted to talk to Tim James because he has personal experience with it, how it's affected him, his body, and created a business. So if you're successful in that, well, people wallet vote. You know, this is, I choose this with my money. So we're going to talk to Tim James. Now, Tim, go ahead and introduce yourself, fill in the blanks for me, and get us started. We'll go until we're done. You know, it'll be at least an hour, maybe two. You know, if it starts going over an hour and a half, we'll, you know, we're probably just repeating ourselves. But, you know, I want to make sure we flush this totally out. This is one of the first shows that I've done on this specific issue and how it affects everything else in our health. So everybody just sit back and relax. Let's let Tim explain it to us. Go ahead, Tim, will you please?
Okay, well, Ernest, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was good meeting you down in Anarchapulco and all the people down there that were there and all the ones that attended live or on the live stream back at home. Wanted to say hello. It was quite exciting down there with El Mencho. Whatever happened to him, you never know on the news today whether it's the truth or not. But the cartels shut everything down. We got to stay in Mexico for an extra week, and it was it turned out being a nice deal, a good deal.
Yeah, everybody I talked to got stuck there. Yeah, it was just more vacation. It was all amped up or whatever.
Yeah, and then, you know, it was people back home were telling us about all the doom and gloom, and then like I went around and started interviewing locals and police officers and stuff, and found out what was really going on, and you know, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, you know, and with you know AI and you know the creative stuff they can do, they show things burning that weren't actually burning and stuff like that, and they hype it up. So don't believe everything you see. Like you said, pretty much everything, if it's on the mainstream media, it's WWE wrestling, it's 99% bullshit and 1% truth to make you think that it's real. So yeah, my backstory, man, I grew up on a small cattle and hay farm over here in Eastern Oregon, hunting and fishing. I played baseball at a high level for 30 years. I was really healthy, fit, really into exercise, lifting weights, doing all that stuff, trying to, you know, be a top level athlete. And then I moved down to Portland, Oregon, in the summer times during college to play baseball because there was no more baseball after American Legion. And then after college was over, I went that summer to play baseball again, and I ended up down in Portland. You know, met a gal, had a couple kids, got a mortgage, ended up doing a bunch of different things as a financial advisor for 7 years, getting ready to take over this large practice. And, you know, but my health after age 28 started going down. I continued drinking alcohol. It seemed like alcohol was wrapped around everything. It was like all the business stuff and meetings and everything was around booze. And it was just kind of the continuation of the college party, like it never ended. And you know, bottom line is that processed foods got me. And by age 37, I'd gained 42 pounds. I had acid reflux. I was eating Tums and Rolaids 24/7. Couldn't figure it out. I started getting skin issues. I had an eczema on my knee, and this patch got larger and larger, and I'd bump my knee on a coffee table. It was like somebody stabbed me with an ice pick. It was very painful. It would crack and bleed, and then that spread to my elbows and other parts of my body. Another skin issue on my back. I was fatigued. I wasn't sleeping well. I even had night sweats occasionally. I basically ended up stopping working out once I moved across town and got away from my boys over at the gym. And then the only exercise I was getting was walking my dogs because they couldn't walk themselves. I was just tired. I had no energy.
How old were you at this point?
I was 37 years old, and just falling apart, right? And so then it gets worse. Then I start shitting blood, and that went on for 2.5 years.
Whoa! And what? 2.5 years of damn.
Yeah. So I you know, and it was very painful. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was probably a 7. Okay, you know, 1's like not very much. 10's shoot me and get me off the planet. And it was like a 6 or 7, 8 sometimes. And I'd had bright red blood from anal tears and then dark red blood from internal bleeding. Went to the doctor. They wanted to put me on Prilosec and this other stuff. And I remember reading the side effects on one of them, and it said it could cause rectal bleeding. And I'm just like, I already have this. Like, why would I? That makes no sense to me. I'm not taking this. So I never took any of those things just because it seemed weird. But I had my head in the sand. I was in fear. I had an ego. I'm just like, I hope that goes away. Again, very painful. In fact, it got so painful that I started developing anxiety. Like I felt the urge to have a bowel movement, and then I felt like, you know, as a little kid that got in trouble and my dad was going to hit me with a belt. And that was happening twice a day. That went on for 2.5 years. And then to top the whole thing off, I was on a vacation with my wife down in Peru. She was from Lima, Peru. Her dad was a medical doctor. He'd never been on a vacation in 30 years as a medical doctor. He's running some large clinic down there, a big hospital. And we flew to northern Peru, just south of Ecuador, to a place called Tumbes. We were enjoying this lovely vacation on the beach, out in the middle of nowhere, like literally. And we went deep sea fishing, and I was bent over kind of sick on the boat, and they thought I had motion sickness. And I said, look, guys, I go fishing off the Oregon coast. I've been to Hawaii many times. Like, I don't get motion sickness. Something's wrong. They dismissed it. I get back home. I'm not getting better. Her dad walks by me and looks at me. He's like, you're still not getting better? He's like, and then he examined me, and being a doctor, he's like, oh, shit. He's like, we need to get you to the hospital. You need surgery right now. So we packed all our stuff. I'm walking at like bent over at a 90-degree angle because I'm in so much pain. I'm walking like some old man with a bad back. And we make it to the airport, and we miss the plane flight like by 15, 20 minutes. There's only one plane flight a day. So now I'm kind of screwed. He scrambles, rents a van, and we drive 6 hours down this bumpy-ass road down the coastline of Peru to the next town called Piura. And I went to the hospital there, and I figured I was going to get surgery. I'm kind of out of it. And this was a bumpy road, and every bump was like an ice pick in the gut. Oh. And it was like bump, 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 6 hours.
So
when I got there, what's that?
What year was this?
Oh man, I can't even remember. It was a long time ago. It was I was 37. Don't make me do math. I'm in the middle of the story.
Yeah, I know.
But
well, I'm just kind of wondering. The reason I'm asking is what the technology might have been that time in the hospital.
Well, let me explain. This was part of the deal.
Okay, go.
So yeah, so it's like 16 years or whatever. It's actually farther than that. It was about it's actually about 20 years ago. So I get there and I'm sweating bullets to the point where the paper money in my wallet was soaked. That's how much I was. It was the most 6 hours of that bumpy ass painful stabbing pain ride. I get there, I'm in the hospital, and in the examination room there's 500 bugs flying around in my head. I mean, and I look over at the instruments, they look like they're from the 1950s, and I'm thinking, well, this ain't good. They're all talking Spanish. All these doctors keep coming in, pushing on my abdomen. It's painful. And her dad decided that he wasn't going to have him operate there because, I mean, it was low tech. Okay. Yeah. They could have done it, but it was low tech. So he got the OR ready in Lima. He books a commercial plane flight and then has them just dope me up with a bunch of shit so I could stand up. And then he said, look, I'm going to go first. You keep your hat down. You walk behind me, and Lily will be behind you, and we'll just sandwich you, and we'll get you through the airport. Just don't look at people because I look bad. And you're not supposed to get on commercial airplane flights when you could die. So right. I was basically life flighted on a commercial airline, and nobody knew. Her dad just sat next to me, and my wife kept an eye on me. And as soon as I landed, we took a taxi, got to the hospital, his hospital, and then there was like a whole team of people. And as soon as I stepped out of the taxi, these people grabbed me, threw me on a gurney, started cutting my clothes off, taking my clothes off, and I went right in to surgery. And this is where Western medicine saved my life, because Western medicine was born out of war, out of crisis care. And so that in critical situations, they have certain things they can do, like surgeries and stuff like that can save your life. And I'm so very grateful for that part of Western medicine, because without it, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys today, right? But it's the other stuff for the chronic issues, and the reason why I was there, that they get an F. I mean, they have failed. The system is broken, and there's no sense of trying to fix a broken system inside of that system. We have to create our new system. Right. And so I learned a couple things from that. I learned, number one, I don't ever want to have surgery again. It was very scary. They put the mask on you. You pass out. Next thing you wake up in a room, there's tubes coming out of you. And the second thing is that my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affected everybody else around me. So I ruined the vacation for my wife, her dad, who had his first vacation ever in 30 years. And he ends up back in the hospital taking care of me. But I really, at that point, that was like the first half of the story. And then the second half is when my buddy Charles got cancer because I still didn't know what to do.
Well, what was the surgery that they did? You have an abdomen scar? They went in and
I had an appendicitis, and they got it right before it burst. Like, so I got really lucky because it's it's the septic. You can get all that toxins and shit in there. And so what I didn't know was it was the processed foods that I was eating and the stress that I was experiencing in my lifestyle that had caused that those issues. I had no idea that I was going to the store and literally paying for poison with my after-tax slave dollars. I had no idea that I was completely clueless on this stuff. I was just doing what my parents did and what everybody else was doing. And I was trying to be a good, decent human being and just do my job and pay my taxes and, and work and take care of my family and, try to, provide and get some rental properties and do that kind of stuff. And I just had no idea, no clue.
Well, realization that this was caused by processed food came from what?
Well, that came later. So I got home. I still wanted to get better. I had no energy. I had all these issues still. Then my friend Kalei Mahoy, my baseball team, he's 40 years old. He got stomach cancer and he died. And he was chewing, tobacco. So back then, we thought, oh, well, he probably trickled down his throat and gave him his cancer, And they put all kinds of crap. Now, there's a whole other conversation we could have on tobacco and, natural tobacco and nicotine is really good for you. It's the 599 chemicals they put in the cigarettes and the paper and all those pyrazines that are causing the problems in us. Tobacco is like a cure-all. But he was taking the poison stuff version, and we figured that's what killed him. So it made sense. My grandma died of brain cancer. My aunt had died of melanoma skin cancer. So my personal experience was you get cancer, you die. And you see on the TV Race for the Cure and these, cancer, nonprofits and stuff like that, right? Yeah. American Cancer Society and all these things. And nobody can figure it out, since Nixon. They put a bunch of money after it, and the best minds in the world supposedly are trying to solve this. And so me, who am I? I don't know anything about this. So if the experts can't fix it and my friends and family are dying, then my belief system is you get cancer, you die. That's just the way it was. That was my belief system. This is where I was set up, my definitions that were in my head. And then my friend Charles at age 43 gets diagnosed with cancer shortly thereafter. And I'm like, shit, like here comes another one of my friends. And I'm freaking out about myself too, because I know I got serious problems. I mean, when you're shitting blood, that ain't normal. Okay. Yeah, no, and you can't sleep well and you're exhausted.
Those symptoms continued after your appendicitis?
Yeah. Yep.
You weren't cured then.
No. No, the appendicitis was just one of the first wheel to really fall off, the big one. Right. And a breakdown, laid me aside of the road. Again, thank God for the surgery and the people that did that for me. So Charles is like, hey man, like I got cancer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, I'm going to go to this detox healing clinic in Florida called Hippocrates. And I want you to go with me to support me because my wife can't get away. She's doing some stuff in her business. And I'm like, dude, whatever you need, I'm in. I had no idea what I was getting into. We fly there January 1st, 2011. And they basically just gave us purified water with lemon and lime juice in it. We started drinking wheatgrass shots, a couple ounces twice a day. We had these big, huge 16-ounce green juices with like sunflower and pea sprouts and cucumber and celery in it. And then they had like sprouts. I mean, it was shit. It was like they had a garden there, like a 3-acre garden. They're growing all these vegetables. They're growing sprouts in this massive greenhouse.
So it sounds like kind of like a Gerson therapy thing.
Well, it's a little different. I mean, kind of. I mean, Gerson's more of like 13 juices a day. It's a lot of work. This is a little bit different. This is they took Gerson to kind of another level where they pulled the sugar out of the diet. And that's another long story, but because kind of sugar feeds disease. And it was really about the alkalizing waters, juices, and these alkalizing living foods, these plants that have living. And so we're basically eating all this stuff, and I'm freaking out because I'm like a meat eater. Like I hunt and fish. My son's middle names are Hunter and Fisher. That's how much I'm into hunting and fishing. And I'm literally thinking I'm gonna die without meat. And what I found out was I felt like crap for the first few days because I was doing this detox. I had night sweats. I was irritable, tired, exhausted. I had a metallic taste start coming out of my tongue. Found out later I had severe heavy metal poisoning, probably from loading tons of lead shotgun shells, making my own lead crappie and bass jigs. We had lead paint in the 70s on the house. I was around a lot of toxins on the farm, and just we were around a lot of crap. Spraying, my dad's like, go spray them weeds, glyphosate,
Right.
oh, Roundup or whatever. So I was around a lot of crap that nobody's paying attention to that was poison. And then we went to this class. And so I wasn't feeling good. And then they went to the first class called Internal Awareness. This doctor comes out. He's jacked. He's ripped. His name's Dr. Scott Josephson. Shout out to him. He's a cool dude. And, I mean, this guy is looking good. And he's given this class, and he basically explains when you eat food, from the time you start chewing it, the saliva, the enzymes, how they're activated down the throat, how they digest, the pepsin, the hydrochloric acid, all the stuff in the stomach that digests your food, goes through the duodenum into the small intestine, and then the small intestine starts pulling all these nutrients into the bloodstream, and then through the colon, and then the colon finishes it off, remaining the nutrients, pulls some of the water out, and then you poop. Okay? And he explains the whole process. And it was like, wow, that was really educational. I really didn't know how that all worked, That was cool. And he said the problem is because of processed foods in the standard American diet, the average American has about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material lining the colon. And I'm like, whoa. And I was like, that doesn't sound good. And he said, this is changing the internal terrain because the terrain should be alkaline and high oxygen. And when you have all this stuck poop in you, it's all this funk and gunk and junk, it creates a very acidic environment that's low oxygen. So when you change the environment, you change what's going on in there. It's like if you leave a bunch of scraps in your garbage in your kitchen and you never change it, what's going to happen? Bugs are going to come in, right? And until you remove that stuff, you're going to have bugs in your kitchen flying around and crawling all over the floor and maggots and all kinds of stuff. That's why people that have 6 to 12 pounds of this is everybody. Like everybody has this on average, some less, some more. Then you start having bacterium and mold and yeast and fungus and parasites. It's the perfect environment for them. So they grow and proliferate just like a bunch of bugs spewing out of your trash in your kitchen because you never change it. And so he's telling all this stuff and he's trying to sell us on we need to get a colonic or colon hydrotherapy. Have you ever heard of this?
Well, colonics, but
yeah. I didn't know what the hell it was. So if anybody doesn't know, I'll explain it. So you basically go to a clinician and they insert a tube rectally and water gently goes in and out of your colon for an hour and it cleans out the crap. I mean, that's what it does. All the crap.
Yeah, I've done it before to where they put you in a chair that's kind of reclined, and we called it poop TV because they had a mirror that you could see a clear part of the tube that was extracting from you. It just kind of flushes, and you just see all this stuff. You go, damn, there's that much. It's still coming? Yeah. Oh, my God, So we called it poop TV, but I know what you're talking about.
I've heard colon hydrotherapists tell me they've seen all kinds of stuff come out of people, like marbles, toys from their childhood they hadn't seen in a long time. Weird stuff. Reminded me of like grumpy old men eating the quarters. That was funny. But anyway, so I'm not doing this thing. I elbowed Charles and say, hey, look, dude, I came here to help you with your cancer thing. Right? This is right in the middle of the class, but there's no way I'm doing that colon hydrotherapy thing because my mind was like, nobody's touching my butt. That's weird. I never heard of this. And I was closed-minded and I had an ego, right? And I was scared. I was making decisions out of fear. Never do that. And but the doctor knew what was going on because they've been doing this for like at the time 61 years, right? So all these 600,000 people have been through the door. So they kind of figured out how to teach you. So he said, look, I'm going to show you now the inside of 4 people's colons, 3 people that are unhealthy and 1 person that's healthy that's been on this lifestyle. And so the first person was a 24-year-old female that had a thyroid disorder. It was like like Graves' disease or Hashimoto's or something. And she also had thrush, which is a yeast infection. Now, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go inside somebody's butt, look in their colon, and I'm going to see a pink lining of a colon and some brown stuff. Okay, that's probably what I'm going to see. I don't know. We go in this gal's colon, and he shows us, and it's all white and yellow. And it's like, whoa, that's weird. That's all the yeast she had overgrown in her colon. Mm-hmm. It was weird. And everybody was just like, ugh. Then they went to a 65-year-old male that had colon cancer and parasites. You go in his colon, black as midnight, tar, and white worms squiggling all around. Everybody in the room, all 50 of us, our skin was crawling. And that's when I was like, oh, shit, I'm getting colon hydrotherapy. Because I knew I'd been eating the same stuff these people had been eating. And then the next one was a 45-year-old female with breast cancer. Inside her colon, black as tar, a little bit of brown stuff. And you could see it. You could see if your colon is unhealthy and it's got white and yellow stuff in it and yeast and you got this black tar and worms and like that's not what it's supposed to look like. Then they showed the healthy person, yeah, pink colon and some brown stuff. I'm like, oh, and that's light bulb went off in Tim's head. And I'm like, oh, it's an inside game. It's just, I never equate it. It's like if the tractor or the car's not running right and the cylinders are all plugged up, you got to take it in and give it a tune-up. You got to clean it up. You got to change the spark plugs. You got to change the fuel filter. You got to change the oil filter. You got to drain the oil, change the transmission fluid. And it just all clicked. I'm like, it's an inside game. I just got to clean up the inside. And so I jumped up in the middle of class, signed up for the colon hydrotherapy session. Next day, I go do it. They weighed me, and they weighed me after. I dropped 11 pounds in 1 hour of impacted
just from the
crap
large intestine
that was inside of me. Now, the record, 600,000 people been through the door. The record was a woman. She was, I think she dropped like 23 pounds in one session. They tracked all this stuff. One woman dropped 23 pounds, and I was like, that was double what I did. And I was like, holy crap, 23 pounds. That's like I was picturing like a 20-pound dumbbell. I'm like, that's a lot. My dog, a medium-sized dog, that's like having a medium-sized dog like fall out of your butt of putrefying like trash. And so the next day we're having lunch and this lady has a parasite crawling out of her eye. And I'm sitting there with Charles and I looked at her. I was like, you have a parasite crawling out of your eye. And she's like, oh my God. And she runs off. Right. And we're just like, holy shit. And the doctor said, you know, you're going to see like not just the parasites coming out in your stools, like the hookworms, the pinworms, parasites, tapeworms, and that kind of stuff, the big long ones, but there's also little ones like people would poop and their poop would look like white fuzz, all these things. But there's also smaller ones that would come out through the pores in the skin or the eyes or the nose or the ears, and they're exiting the body. Now, when I tell this story, a lot of people are like, oh, that's bullshit. That's not happening. But again, why is it happening? I'm like, I saw it with my own eyes. It's because we were changing the internal terrain. That's why.
Yeah, no, this is something that, you know, nobody believes me. When I was a kid in Florida, parasites were a thing. I mean, you know, little kids changing diaper, little worm kind of stuff. My grandmother would have us take Red Man chewing tobacco, and we were to put a little bit in our mouth, and we had to swallow the juice. And that was an anti-parasitic thing. You were talking about tobacco before being a thing. Then there was something she'd do, turpentine, a spoonful of sugar helps the turpentine go down, okay? So there was turpentine and Red Man tobacco. You look at up now, I tell my wife or kids, like, you're crazy, man. And I go, hey, man, I'm just telling you, that's what Grandma did to positive effect. So I just want to put that in there. Yes, I've seen this type of parasite. I've seen, you know, Grandma, old wives' tale, whatever, taking care of it. So, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And if you guys remember, like, if you know, I'm 53 in June. People that are probably 40 and older, if you remember going to your grandma's house or your aunt's house, they had an enema bag hanging on the back of the door in the bathroom.
Right.
And before that, this is like, so a colon hydrotherapy session is just it's an hour of it. It's a little bit, it's gentle, but it's a little bit stronger. Where an enema bag, you take a quart or two and you run it in and clean it out. So back in the day, like women, if a child got sick, that child would immediately get an enema because the woman didn't want to deal with a sick child because there was chores to do. There's a lot of work. I mean, you had to hand wash everything and cook food, clean, and you had other kids.
Hot water bottles are for.
Yeah, and in some women, if one kid got sick, the whole family would get enemas because they didn't want to take a chance of somebody getting sick. So what I'm talking about here is just simply water. It's something. It's no big deal. And so why was that happening? Why were the parasites exiting the body? Because we were changing the internal terrain from stopping to drink, acidic coffee, acidic orange juice and apple juice and all this stuff, and acidic cooked foods and processed foods and all this crap and sugars and pastries and pastas and noodles and all this stuff. And then we stopped that, and then we cleaned out the system. And so what happened? It's like like a polar bear or a penguin. They like it real cold. And if you dropped a polar bear or a penguin on Miami Beach, they're going to hop in the water and swim north or south and get the hell out of there because it's not conducive for them. They have to leave. That's the same thing with the parasites. So this is why the parasites exit the body. When you change the internal terrain, you become more alkaline and high oxygen, they pack their bags and leave. And so we did that. The next day I woke up, I felt unbelievable. Like everything changed. My arms were tingling with energy. I looked at Charles. I said, dude, you're going to heal. I've talked to so many people around here. I'm like, I feel amazing. How do you feel? He said, I feel fantastic. You're going to heal, dude. I know it. I said, I can't. What's that?
In a day.
Well, no, I just said, I know you're going to heal. I knew we had to change our lifestyle.
No. I mean, you had this impact. You felt this the next day.
Yeah, it was 5 days. So I'd been there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. On day 5, I woke up, and they said usually day 5 or 6, Thursday or Friday, you're going to wake up and feel good. And I was like, please be Thursday, because Wednesday night, man, I went to bed like at 8:30. I just wanted the day to be over. I felt irritable. I felt horrible because I was doing that detox stuff. So I felt good. We come back home. And I told Charles, I'm like, dude, we've discovered the fountain of youth. Like, this is what everybody's looking for. It's so simple. You just got to clean out your gut, clean up your cells, flood the body with nutrition, get all these toxins out, reduce your stress and live a happy life. And like, this is, yay. I was so happy. And we came home, and within 2.5 years, he had healed himself naturally right in front of my face. No chemo, no surgery, no radiation. Right. And he's still alive today. And he went from bankruptcy, cancer, and a poor marriage to he's making $250,000 a year with his new business. He's got a new wife, new kid, second round, and no cancer. And I get to hang out with him. We play guitar here and there. It's just, his story is amazing. It's unbelievable. And so that's what spurred me into this. And then I started teaching classes at my home. I've had over 5,500 people to my house teaching these detox, juice living dinner classes. And
okay, let me ask one question, while it's on my mind. Fasting. I want to feel better. I don't feel good. I just fast for 3, even up to 7 days. I did a 20-day. Well, I was going to do 21, then I got my dates wrong, so I messed up, and it's 20. But it was extremely. I saw one of the graphics that we have up here is you with Dr. Judy Mikovits that we've interviewed quite a bit. She's become a good friend.
Yeah.
And she was all about fasting also, and that's when I really started doing it first. And I'm wondering if fasting allows that stuff to eventually go, because you still, even though you don't eat, and you usually process about, 12, 18 hours or something that goes out, you're still pooping for at least 3 days, Yeah. That third day, it's like a biblical thing, a 3-day fast, 3-day fast. So I do that probably twice a year or something like that. It does have a positive impact. But if you go more than that, you're starting to, you lose weight, you get, what other benefits. If you were to just fast for a few days, does that release a lot of what your colon cleanse would do, or do you actually need to have a chemical, alkaline water, physical enema? What is the role in fasting?
Well, the thing of it is like 50% of the people that I talk about the colon hydrotherapy or colonics to are in fear mode, and they're like me. They don't want to do it. They're scared. We have a product called Gut Detox. It's an ancient formula we found in India. We have people take 3 in the morning and 3 at night for 15 days. It'll get rid of all that stuck poop, and there's no diarrhea. So that's one way. The other thing is you could just do an enema. But as far as your question goes, I don't know if anybody I've ever like done long-term fasting and then like checked their colon afterwards, so I can't, answer that directly. But I do know that the body will start self-cleaning itself out. And everything that we do over here at Chemical Free
Stop
Body
poisoning it.
is actually to get people ready for a dry fast. Now, in the beginning, you're probably not ready for this. Most people aren't. Most people have never even water fasted, and most people have never even replaced a heavy meal with a juice, with a concentrated nutrient juice. So we usually start people, we baby step them into it, where we have them, instead of having bacon, eggs, and toast and all that stuff, and butter and pancakes and hash browns in the morning, we switch them to like an organic energy juice or a concentrated green juice with living alkalizing nutrients. That's step one. Then once they can do that in the morning and noon, and then morning, noon, and evening, now they've spent their whole first day without consuming heavy food, and then we try to get them to do that once a week. All right, so that's the beginning of it. Now, for people that are done this, then they've done a 2-day juice fast or feast, whatever you want to call it, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days. I've done 40 days and 40 nights on our organic energy juice just to prove a point, and because I wanted to see if I could do it. It took me 3 attempts. I think I made it 11 days and like 24 days, and I finally made it 40. And I felt the best I'd ever felt. And then I was like, okay, because I remember when I first heard about this was actually at the Institute the first time, and this guy was on his day 10 of a water fast. And I looked at Charles and I'm like, dude, these people are so weird. Like, they don't even eat meat here. And I mean, I eat a little bit of meat now. And I'm like, they don't even eat at all. Like, they're just drinking water, some of these people. And I didn't understand what the profound benefits of fasting are. So just a quick recap is that there's 2 primary fuel sources. You have eat food, and that gets all converted into glucose, and you burn glucose as energy in the cell. That's number one. The second primary food nutrient source is that you burn through your glucose, which takes about 2-3 days, and then your body switches over. It's kind of going from like a gas engine and then switching over to diesel, right? It switches from the glucose over to burning your own fat and producing what are called ketones to fuel your brain and stuff like this. This is exactly how bears do it when they hibernate. People know that bears, they eat and eat and eat all spring, summer, and fall, and they get fat, and they get a lot of fat on, and they go to sleep. And while they're sleeping, they're burning their fat to live and producing ketones, okay? And they're also producing metabolic water or endogenous water. So the fat, one of the components of fat is hydrogen, and when they're breathing air, oxygen, in the cell mitochondria, it makes water intercellularly inside the cell, and that gives them their water. Camels do the same thing. This is why camels have the big fat humps. The fat broken down, cleaved into glycerol, and then down into hydrogen, with mixing with the oxygen from the air they breathe. They make their own water. Kangaroo rats do this in the desert. Many animals do this. In fact, humans make about probably 5 to 10% of their water every day inside of us. So how cool is that? We have the ability to make our own water.
That is very interesting. And this is why I heard them talking about the water in your body is not the same as the water outside.
The water in your body is structured water, which is what we're going to flip over and talk about in a minute. So anyway, so water fasting, after about day 3, you start burning these ketones, and then you start cleaning up what are called senescent or mutated, effed up cells, basically. So all of you, because what happens is that your body is like, it goes into this survival mode. I mean, it's built for this. It's programmed into us. Like, you're not supposed to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Out in the wild, that just didn't happen. You would go for 2 or 3 days, even when we were nomadic people, and not eat anything. Then we'd come to like a meadow and find the ancestors of cabbage or spinach or something and eat that. In the fall, you'd have some berries. Then you'd walk a few hours and maybe find a creek and drink a little water, and you keep walking. So we were moving a lot, moving our bodies, and we were not constantly eating, and we were eating all different kinds of food sources, over 100 to 300 varieties of food, getting all different types of nutrients and cofactors coming into our bodies, and we're just not doing that anymore. You know, the average person actually, Ernest, only has about 14 meals over and over and over again in his or her life. Think about it. What do you eat? Hey, honey, what are we going to get tonight? Well, let's just stop by and get KFC. Or it's like, I'm putting a lasagna in. Let's order pizza. And it's rinse and repeat, hamburgers.
We kind of bypass that, but I know what you mean.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like it's against nature. We are genetically programmed to not eat all the time, to use our second primary fuel source, which is burning fat and ketones, because that's when all the healing takes place. Like, you become your own doctor so much when you're fasting, it's ridiculous. The body just starts repairing itself. So when the body is looking to live, it's like it's looking for fuel and it's looking for water. And so it's going to start eating up any cells that are not perfect to keep you alive. So all these messed up cells, tumors, all kinds of stuff, it'll just start eating them up because it's going to burn it up as fuel. It's pretty cool. Now, the dry fast is that's the final, most powerful thing. This has been studied for well over 40 years in practice in Russia for debilitating diseases and cancers and stuff, and they have super high success rates. So you stop eating and you don't drink anything. Nothing goes into the body, and the body goes into the deepest levels of autophagy, the cellular cleanup. It'll actually clean up your stem cells too, because some of your stem cells in your body actually become senescent or mutated. And then on day 4, magic happens. Your body starts releasing millions of your own stem cells, like millions. And people are spending $5,000 to $25,000 for stem cell treatments, and they got to go do it every 6 months. They got to travel. They got to go to clinics. They got to do injections. And some of these stem cells are not even theirs. They're from aborted fetuses, there's a lot of implications with that religiously. They're out of umbilical cords, and like, did the mother get vaccinated? It's like, what else is in the blood? And so with this, you're making your body's releasing millions of your own stem cells. I call it the $1 million stem cell treatment. And they're flood every aspect of your body. Dry fasting, you'll also lose about 15 to 18 pounds of fat in 7 days because you're burning through that fat as fuel. It's profound. You actually kill parasites and harmful organisms like day 5 and day 6. They're dead because they have to have access to water, and they don't have access to that endogenous metabolic water you make within the cell. And by the way, that cell water that's made inside pushes the toxins out of the cell from the inside out. Those go into the extracellular matrix and then go out through the lymph and get in. We urinate, defecate, perspire, and get these toxins out of our body. It is the most. As being a health coach, there is nothing on the planet that I've ever seen. There's no therapy. There's nothing that you can do that is more powerful than a dry fast. But I don't recommend people do it right out of the gate. Again, we got to go back and we got to work our way into understanding it and changing our belief systems by stopping eating the big pancake breakfast and having a highly concentrated nutrient juice, and then working our way up to that, doing a few days of juice feasting, and then maybe a water fast for a day, then 2 or 3 days, and then maybe you do your first 1 day dry fast, then maybe a 2, and then down the road 3, and then if you get to that 5 to 7 range, that's where the super magic happens. And I just don't know anything that you can't heal with one of those deals. And the cool thing is it's freaking free, no cost,
and it's easy. My thing is that when I do a fast, I like things that I don't have to do anything. I don't have to prepare a meal. I don't have to eat. I don't have to, all I got to do is remember not to open the refrigerator, As I walk in, I go, oh, yeah, I'm fasting. I close. It's just like a habit, What am I, grazing? That's where my biggest problem is. And, before bed, a lot of times, I have a light dinner, but then I get an apple, some peanut butter, walnuts, and raisins. I mean, what's the difference, a bunch of sugar. Well, the here in the desert, it's starting to hit 100 degrees. I probably could make it 4 days not drinking. I got enough blubber. But, I mean, if I was to drink any, is there a specific kind of alkaline water, easy water, something?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Let's just flip the conversation here into the structured water then. So first off, when you're doing water fasting or dry fasting, especially, some people can just kind of go about their normal activities, but most of us, like me, it's like your body, I treat it like I'm going into surgery, and my body's doing massive cleanup and massive healing at the deepest cellular level. So I just chill out. I'm not exercising. I go for walks. I'm one of the 50 percentile. I have a hard time sleeping. So I'll just I have a hard time going to bed. I sleep for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I just wake up at 1:30 in the morning, and I'm wide awake. My body's tired. And my mind is crystal clear. I mean, it's those ketones are flooding my brain, and my body's doing this healing stuff. So I'll go for walks in the middle of the night. This is on the dry fasting. It's not so much on the water fasting for me. Just the dry fast, I struggle with the sleep, but the benefits are just so tremendous. So so the first thing is, like, besides what type of water, is just chill out, right? You shouldn't be doing heavy activity. You are doing surgery without a knife. Don't do exercise and that kind of stuff, because you're also, if you start lifting weights while you're doing this, you're going to burn through your muscle quicker, and then you're going to have to rebuild all that muscle. But if you don't work out, then when you'll see your muscles shrink because they're filled with water. But when you're done fasting and you start rehydrating, they plump back up. But if you lift heavy weights and stuff like that, you're going to burn a lot of muscle for fuel as well. So I don't recommend that. But if the water you want to drink is, you want to drink water that's purified and restructured. And that's pretty much it. And so, one of the cleanest waters you can get is like triple distilled water. And then the water needs to be structured. So what is structured water?
Let's talk about the structuring, because that's a physical thing that's done, right?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Is like, there's 4 phases of water in nature. And we've been taught, most of us, that there's 3. The liquid form is the first one. The solid form, which is ice, is the second one. And the third form is a gas, and that's steam. Okay. What's the 4th phase? Well, it's like this gel-like phase. It's called the exclusion zone. There's a lot of names for this. It's the 4th phase of water. It's called exclusion zone. So E for exclusion, Z for zone. So the EZ zone, or EZ layer. And I guess the easiest way to explain it, and what's inside of your body,
is surface tension. It's when it's up against something, or surface tension. It's different, right?
Yeah, I'm not a super. I mean, I know enough to understand how it works now, but I'm not going to get into the super details of it. But it's like a gel water, okay? And what you're talking about is like what Dr. Gerald Pollack's experiments were showing us. When water's next to certain surfaces, it becomes hydrophilic, or water loving. So it gets this gel-like layer. So what ends up happening is it's different from regular water. So there's like a material, like your veins or capillaries or arteries, and then water has a positive and negative charge. So when this exclusion zone happens, the positive charge gets pushed outside, and the positive gets excluded from that layer of negative charged water next to that hydrophilic or water-loving material, like the lining of your veins and arteries and capillaries, as an example. And so the charge it separates it. That's the exclusion zone, because it excludes the positive out. And
I've heard it described that it also excludes everything. It's like a crystal. It's just that type of water with more hydrogen or something that excludes everything. Certainly so it's structured water. Now, I've seen them, these toruses, or spinning it or something, try to create more structured water. Is that something you can talk about? Because I don't know.
Yeah, so let's explain the difference. So H2O water is extracellular water. So it's not really, it's not the greatest for hydration. It's got limited detoxification. There's no charge to it. It's lifeless. And it's kind of dead. So it's corrupted by man-made influences. People say, well, it's just water now, and I don't like it. I've talked to so many people that are like, yeah, I don't like water. I was like, wow. So it's not easily absorbed, and it passes through the body. So we've been teaching people for years, like, drink half your body weight in liquid ounces daily. So if you're 200 pounds, that's 100 ounces a day. If you're 100 pounds, it's 50 ounces a day. And I switched that to like just 3 quarts, because it's easier. Because the average person is only consuming 1 quart of water, and we try to get 3 quarts in. And that could be part of like organic energy juices and caffeine-free teas and stuff like that. But structured water is H3O2. H3O2. So 3 hydrogen, 2 oxygen versus the 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. It's called intercellular water. It's very efficient at detoxification. The molecules are actually charged, so they give you energy, in your cell mitochondria especially. It's alive, and it's aligned with nature. So many of the waters that are, even if a creek is moving like 2 meters a second, it's structuring the water itself. And a lot of people say, well, I like water now and I drink more of it. And it feels softer, it's wetter, and it's highly absorbable. So when you drink it, you don't even have to drink as much of it to get hydrated, because it's exactly what's inside of you. Think about it. When you cut yourself, does water come pouring out of you? No, I mean blood does, right? But there's no you could cut yourself and then water's not coming out. It's the same thing in like every single vegetable. What's inside of it? Structured water. This, I believe, is why places like Hippocrates and Optimal Health Institute and the Gerson Clinic, why they were having so much success, because what were they juicing? Vegetables. What's inside of vegetables? Structured water. Most people are not getting it. They're getting this water that's at a 105.4 degree bond angle that's not structured. It's H2O. It doesn't detox well. It doesn't absorb well. It's dead, and it's been corrupted by man-made influences. That's what we've been drinking. Again, when you get away from nature, yeah, and then you put plastic in it, it's the deviation from nature, which our body comes from, is where all the suffering begins. All we're talking about is going back to be more aligned with water that's actually in nature, that's in your body and in vegetables.
We have, because we're using well water, what we do is, while we're building our infrastructure, there's an agricultural well that for $500 a year, we get all the water that we want. Now, it's coming up from the earth, so it's probably, not out to kill me, but it's very hard. Well, we use that for, everything but drinking. The drinking water, we got a Cove Pure machine that filters, and you can get it hot and cold and whatever. It's very convenient. It's better than not. But is there a machine or a way to have a much greater, either alkaline is one thing, and I think it may do alkaline, I'm not sure, but the structured water. So I can go buy, Tim James, machine of structured water coming out the spigot. I mean, how would we do this?
So we have handheld devices so people can pour the water for travel or home, or it's less expensive. They're like $595. We have 3/4 and 1-inch models depending on the side of your home. Like if you have one bathroom, 2 people or less, you can get away with a 3/4 inch, because it's all about just volume and pressure. We have to make sure you're maintaining good pressure for your showers and your laundry and all that kind of stuff. But if you have 2 bathrooms or more, 3 people or more, you're going to need a 1-inch just to make sure you have good pressure in the house. The 3/4 inches are $995, and the 1-inch are $1995. That's the biggest, and we can do a 1.25 inch for some houses. Some houses they're bigger and they do 1.25 inch, and those go up a little bit more. All that's custom pricing. So we do agriculture as well. So the best way to illustrate this is we had an orchard down in California, and they had lemons and avocados, and they were having a blight issue, and the lemons were ripening very small and getting and collapsing on themselves, and the avocados were kind of rotting, and they had snails all over the place because the soil was weak, so the plants were weak. And this guy's beside himself. It's 400 acres. So our inventor goes down there, cuts a hole. He gives him 40 acres to do a test on, just cuts a chunk in the pipe, it's an inline system. It's not hooked up to anything. It's just a copper shell, and inside of it are these water harmonizing crystals that we get out of down in South America. He has them cut a certain way in India, shipped here. They're installed a very specific way, and if you don't do it right, that doesn't work. Puts the unit on, water goes through it. Now, what's happening? Well, the first thing that happens is an endothermic reaction. So when the water goes through this pipe, this water hero device, the temperature drops. Look it up. It's an endothermic reaction. It's bringing energy into solution. It's charging up the positive and negative molecules. This is why it's called high energy water. Structured water is high energy. So that's like basically a free energy device. Okay. And there's other applications. He's actually talked about putting them on roofs and running tubes through roofs in Arizona and just running the water through it and cooling the house off and not even having to have AC, just pumping water through it. There's so many applications of this. We're just getting started. And so we set it up, we run it on there. A month later, we do a tissue sample on the plants. 76.4% increase in nutrients like copper and manganese and all the most important nutrients went up. Now, what we weren't expecting was when we looked at the toxic aluminum, it had dropped 400%. And we don't know how. We don't know how that's happening. Okay, so nutrients went up, but the toxic aluminum went down in the new plant growth. The other thing that happened is the plants that were exposed to this treated water. And remember, the rancher doesn't have to do, or the farmer doesn't do nothing. We just cut the pipe, stick it in there, and turn on the water. There's no extra labor. And the plants had more growth in that month than the previous 5 or 6 months in all the other trees. The lemons on those trees were big and green and unripe, still growing, where the lemons on the other side of the road, which is the same orchard with just a little dirt road down the middle of one section, were small and yellow and collapsing on themselves. We even saw an improvement on the snail issues. And he was really excited about all this. The farmer was ecstatic because it basically could save his orchard and save his business. Because when he's selling crappy avocados, he can't get, A grade for them and most money. He's got to sell them as avocado oil that they put in potato chips and stuff. It doesn't get as much money for those. They're not eaters. And then the lemons are, if they're rotting, who wants to buy a rotten lemon? Right. So, so he was very excited about it. We're very excited about it, but I was very excited about the aluminum reduction. Now, the other thing, if I don't know if you can pull up the website and go there, I want to talk about something else that is really very super exciting. If you go to that Water Hero section, where it says water devices, and then how water heroes work, go to the hamburger menu on the top left, click water devices, and then how water heroes work. There you go. And then just scroll down to the section where it says it's a little ways down.
You want me to click on this? How water heroes?
Yeah,
work?
how water heroes work.
Okay.
And then scroll down until you see the section where it talks about glyphosate bacterium test. Yeah, keep going. It's a long ways down. Yeah, keep going. Yep, keep going. Keep going. Glyphosate bacterium test. Keep going. You'll see it. Keep going. There. Oh no, keep going. It's getting close. Keep going down. I thought I saw the G. There it is, right there. Okay. So what we did, and you can kind of scroll through this as I'm talking about, the soil sample, what we did is we treated some soil with glyphosate using Roundup. Now, when you treat soil with this, Roundup kills all of the bacterium in the soil except Pseudomonas aeruginosa. It's a sole surviving bacterial organism. This is a prominent human pathogen that secretes these proteases that damage the connective tissue in your digestive tract. This is what people are having problems with. It's not so much the gluten, it's the wheat that was sprayed with glyphosate as a drying agent.
Before they harvest it.
Yeah, so you take that in, and it goes into the bacterium in your stomach and destroys all of them except Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and then it rips apart your intestinal lining, and then undigested food particles and microbes slip into your blood, and that's where everybody's getting fucked. I mean, it could show up as cancer, it could show up as Hashimoto's, it could show up as thyroid, it could show up as a migraine. Whatever your predisposition to a weakness is, it's going to show up depending on what you're eating and what you got going on. All right, so what we did is in this experiment, we took a soil sample from organic compost, treated it with Roundup, and placed it on a centramide agar plate. Centramide agar plate is a poison plate, okay? It is specifically formulated with toxins to kill off all forms of bacterium except Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Same one at the, okay. And the growth is characterized by its fern-like pattern. So if you look at the one on the left, scroll down just a little bit more below that arrow, you see how that looks like a fern? That is highly characteristic that it's Pseudomonas aeruginosa. If you look at the other side where we actually took the same soil sample, treated it with the structured water through the Water Hero, the fern-like structure is not present, indicating the growth and diversity of many forms of bacterium. So this approach highlights the harmful impact of glyphosate on microbial communities in the soil and also in your gastrointestinal tract, and it suggests that the structured water may play a role in promoting healthier, more diverse microbial populations. So this is very exciting. So we don't know how it's working, but it's destroying glyphosate in the soil. We don't know if it's doing it directly or if it's activating bacterium in the soil and the bacterium are doing it. I have no idea. And we've been running tests, but there's really no test to do it. I've taken water, we've added glyphosate to it, we run it through the water hero, and we test it. The glyphosate's still present, but we're not sure if it's still in the same state. We're thinking maybe because it gets charged water, because the polar bond, the positive and negative gets charged up. Maybe it's so energized, it's breaking the chemical back down to its elemental state, so it's inert. So it's still there, but it's not affecting us. So we're not sure how it works because there's no test for that right now. All we know is the results is that when we treat the water, we get growth on a poison plate of good microbial diversity versus the one that's not treated. So for us, this is a home run for farmers because this is a solution for them if they're not spraying glyphosate.
Well, how long ago was this avocado, lemon guy?
Oh, this was over a year ago. This was a year and a half.
So did he expand it to the rest of his farm or still?
I think the last time I talked to Joseph, because I don't keep up on all of his stuff, I think the last time I talked to him, he was going to expand it and give him like 4 more 40-acre sections. And then see what ended up happening is all these devices are handmade by the inventor and his wife. And then what happened was he had some family difficulties. His 8-year-old daughter got sick. She had some issues, went to the Mayo Clinic, and she passed away of heart issues. And so we had spent a year and a half working together. I'm trying to understand all this stuff so I can make sure I could put my name behind it. And then when we finally got ready to launch, then he lost his daughter, and I told him just take all the time you need. And so he just came back online like last Sunday. So we're just getting working. His girlfriend had been making a few of them. They've been making a few of them just to kind of keep us going. But we're backed up right now about $200,000 to $300,000 in orders. But they're now starting to produce the machines. They've got another person trained. They got another one they're training, and they're getting the manufacturing back online again. So that's where we're at. It's very exciting stuff. And the one thing I forgot to mention too, Ernest, is that what happens is that the bond angle gets changed when the water goes through. The city water that's 105.4 degrees, it's all messed up. When it goes through the water hero, it permanently restructures the water to 120 degrees. So it's hexagonal, sacred geometry. But the cool thing is that if you scroll down a little bit farther below the glyphosate bacterium test, you were talking about hard water earlier, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So traditional water softeners use this ion exchange system to replace this insoluble calcium with sodium or potassium chlorides, which all this toxins accumulate in the soil over time. And they keep scrolling down. So go to the mineral, right there. Okay. And so there's calcium's in different forms. There's a triangular form called calcite. There's an octagonal form called aragonite. And there's a hexagonal form called vaterite. Okay. Joseph has worked with many strawberry fields, farmers. You ever had a strawberry that's red, but it's not really that sweet?
Yep.
That means that there's high amounts of calcium in either in the calcite or the aragonite. If the calcium in the soil is vaterite, those strawberries are going to be delicious, and they're going to be super sweet, and they're going to be very strong and yummy and not soft. So strawberry farmers love this stuff. They love it. Now, if you look at that, what I did is I told one of the labs that I was reaching out to, I was like, hey, man, we have this system, and not only will the water get restructured, but when the minerals go through the system, they get restructured. And I said the calcites and the aragonites get converted to hexagonal vaterite. And he said that's not possible. He goes, I've been running this lab for 18 years. You're going against everything that science says. He's like, that can't happen. I said, well, I don't know, dude. That's all I'm telling you is like, that's what I was told by the inventor. I'm going to send you a unit and you can test it yourself. He's like, okay, send it up. What you're seeing here on the thing is the results of the initial test that he did. So what he did was he took type 2 distilled water, which is very pure, clean, high purified water used in laboratories. He introduced a precise concentration of essential minerals, including calciums and magnesiums and iron, nickel, copper, zinc, etc. And then what he did is then he mixed it, and then he put a drop of it on a slide and let it dry. And then he looked at it in a microscope. And that's what you see on the left. You see the very angular structures, the dark, and then the angular structures kind of look like, frozen. It's like crystals on a frozen window in the winter or something, right?
Right.
Now on the right is the exact same minerals, but it was the distilled water was run through the Water Hero system.
Before or after he added the minerals?
No, the minerals were added, and then it was run through the system, and then you see what's on the right. The exact same water. The only difference is so that water was put on the slide and allowed to dry. Now you see how the structures are all round looking? And this is on a microscopic level, but those are hexagonal. So this is the difference that you can clearly see. And he texted me these. I got these off my cell phone. He's like, I can't even believe what I'm seeing here. He's like, I'm going to have to run this like 5 more times. But he goes, this is against all science. And I was like, well, okay, well, I'm that's cool. So I was validated even one more time that the inventor's not bullshitting me, because like this quantum stuff, like I'm a farm kid, it's like kind of over my head. So I've had so many instances like this that we've looked at this stuff. And then down below, you'll see it. It's really good for you want to have the best coffee and teas and soups and everything ever. Like, wait till you start using this for cooking. Yeah, it's unreal.
Do I got to give up coffee?
No, but if you're going to do it, we recommend I actually teach a course on how to drink coffee if you want. Most people, though, I'd say about 70 to 80% of people, if they drink our organic energy juice every morning and the afternoon, within 5 to 8 months, they don't want coffee anymore. But the ones that do want to do it, we recommend that you get shade-grown coffee, because the other coffee they harvest the Amazon, they grow it out in the sun, it creates mold, it's sprayed with chemicals. So you want shade-grown, how coffee naturally grows in nature. You want it to be like lightly roasted, no pesticides, no fungicides, no herbicides. And then I would use this water, obviously, with it to enhance the flavor and to keep the structure, and so it doesn't get bitter. And then I would put some drops of L-theanine in the coffee, because if you don't do that, long-term coffee use is going to, because the L-theanine's been stripped out during the processing of the coffee, the caffeine and the stuff that's in there, is going to lead to Alzheimer's and dementia and memory loss. So the L-theanine, you can buffer it by putting some L-theanine drops in your coffee. Or you can just do green teas and matchas, because the L-theanine has not been processed out. You can get your caffeine with the buffer, because the stuff in there is going to eat your myelin sheath, expose your nerve endings, and screw up your brain. So when we work with a lot of Alzheimer's and dementia people, we fix their coffee first, get them on the organic energy juice. Most of them get off the coffee later, but we want to make sure they're doing coffee right. They alkalize first thing in the morning with water, lemon lime water, the organic energy juice. 90 minutes after they wake up, they have their coffee, and then no coffee after noon, because that'll start affecting sleep. So that's kind of a really shortened version of how to do coffee properly.
All right. This is one thing I'm willing to do. We've been very limited in what we would endorse without our own, personal, like, Marjorie Wildcraft, we have, an ad up here for her doing stuff, because
you can talk to Marjorie. Marjorie is, we've sent her the system. She's doing tests on it right now.
Very cool. So yeah, Marjorie, we flew down to Panama together after an Acapulco, got the yak, and I've had her on the show, and of course we promote her stuff.
She's awesome.
And there's other ones here, like colloidal silver, man. That's miracle stuff. That's kind of a, ion electron thing. Something's doing anything, that you break the skin, you do that right away, it's healed by the evening. I mean, it's amazing. And then Azure Standard, I was trying to pull. Yeah, there's Azure. Azure Standard. We actually visited their farm in Oregon.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're here in Oregon. Yeah, we
spent Donna and I spent a few days with them back when the government was trying to force them to use glyphosate. Because it's a long story, and they're like, "You cheated. You used the internet," because we brought a lot of attention to what was going on there, and so we in our family. We do a regular delivery that they go from Oregon. They have trucks that go over the country, and you order once a month. You get a pallet at the local carport of somebody, and you go, or side of the road out here, we go into town. We go pick it up on the side of the road, a scheduled time, get all our organic, none screwed with flour. Donna makes her own bread. We do. So we're making attempts because it's not that hard it's just her and I. We don't, entertain as much as we used to. We're out here working the land. We don't have, of course, we go into town, visit our kids and grandkids and so on, and it's, pizza and Hot Pocket, whatever. I mean, we're getting crap there. But, it's, and they're doing pretty good, too. They're not that bad. They, process their own stuff and from scratch. So we're in a good position, and we're of this mind. When I do these, and I think we may have an affiliate thing here or not, we did it years ago, I don't know, I don't care. We don't endorse anything unless we have done it ourselves. When we can endorse, in fact, we've had coffee manufacturers have been wanting us to have our own label. Well, we went through like 16 different versions, and we just can't endorse any of them. They taste like cardboard. They got some cellulose kind of taste to them. The closest we can come to is some of the Sasquatch Black Rifle of whatever something you buy. And I'm going, I've had really good coffees before. We just can't find one that we can endorse. Then we think it might be the coffee maker. Then it might be the water. Then it might be, so I'm going, okay, we went through French press, Keurig, percolator we're doing now. We've had drip. We have all kinds of stuff. One, I do away with the paper filters because I can taste it. So we do. So we're really on this we're in our mid 60s, man. Damn it, we'll get what we need to do what we need. So what I'm wanting to do, if you're willing, I can stick to whatever because I don't care. Especially if it's, convenient, pack it, do it, boom, I'm out working all day and don't even think about it. I need to know what kind of water or how much to drink. I'm out in the freaking desert, and it's dry in Arizona. There's that. I mean, all of a sudden you get heat stroke, you fall down. But I am right now about 208, weight. I was up to 215 after Acapulco and Panama and everything, so I've been kind of dropping it pretty quick, get back to thing. But
all those tacos.
Right. Well, this is what happened. I got married. That's what happened. But I was an athlete, 4-year letterman. I was a wrestler, pole vault, football. In good shape, and I'm like, yeah. So in my mind, that is me. I'm like, yeah. Now, of course, my kids and grandkids, they only know Chubby Papa. And I have my granddaughter. She's like 12 now, 13. She goes, we were watching some YouTube or something. They had some ad for, chair Tai Chi or something. She goes, Papa, you should do that. I'm like, what? You think I'm fat? Yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, okay. So the motivation. So now I'm like, all right. I've been trying to get below. I've been like 202 several times, and then it just kind of ekes up. I haven't broke 200 for 30 years. It's time.
All right. Well, let's do this. We'll have to. I have a hard stop. I just checked. I have another podcast I'm being interviewed on in like 9 minutes.
Right.
But we can talk. I'd like to get you doing the organic energy juice morning and afternoon. We'll do a couple other little gut things. We'll just try that out, and then if it works for you, you can have me back on, and we can share the results.
Then we'll do. I could do a real enthusiastic, endorsement.
Yeah, sure, man. We're in no hurry. We're a small family-owned business. I don't want people endorsing my stuff just to make money. I want you to have a personal testimony, and I want you to speak it true from your heart.
Well, it's a service to my audience.
Yeah, exactly.
My friends and my family.
Exactly.
And I'm willing to go through and, I've done plenty of fasts. I've probably done 24 fasts over the decades of, just because it makes me feel better. I mean, a 3-day will, clear you up, enough to where a reset to find out if you really got problems or you just needed the fast.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, I'm willing. We'll stay in touch. Let's go ahead and do this. It's time. I'm ready to look. It's it's like, I got a naturopath. Oh, we just put some testosterone pellets in you, and that'll fix you. And I'm like, yeah, if I have to, but I think it's just there's something missing, or I got too much of something, and I'm perfectly willing to try and walk through this process of Ernie Got Energy, because that's one of the biggest symptom that I have is that I use my mind and my motivation and focus for, building out here, because I promised Donna, we did the Love Bus Liberty tour, and that would, earn her a house in the desert. So I'm filling my promise, but I'm having to muscle it a little bit. I'm having to, time to make the donuts and go out where I used to be, a lot more energy, because I'm that personality.
Yep.
And that.
Well, I tell you what, man, we're on a mission. Our goal is to help 100,000 people get their natural energy back by January 1st, 2008. So we got 14,000 people a wrap, and we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of people out there that are suffering with low energy, and we want to get them back. And we believe no matter what health issue you have, riding shotgun is low energy. So what we want to do is help you ramp up your cellular energy so you have energy and burn the disease out. That's what it is.
This is why I wanted to talk to you, because I've heard a lot about in the book of Jerry's, the scientist on the structured water. I've been to a Tesla conference, 15 years ago in New Mexico. They have something, and there was a big deal on structured water there, how the plumbing. I keep having this pinging me over the years, even done a little bit of show on it and everything.
Yep.
But yours was the most mature manifestation into consumer. I can make a click and do it, and we have a place to send somebody.
Yeah, and we
new.
also, just to let people know, like we're one of only 2 companies, again, that are lab certified. On our website, you can click to view the certification, and then down below, I put click here to contact lab to verify our certification, because the inventor of this product, this system, he went somewhere and started working with a guy, and then the guy ripped him off. And they're still making them, but they don't work. And then they went to another place, and the other guy tried to rip him off. And they're making them and promoting them. They look almost exactly the same, but they don't work. They're very expensive aerators. I've had a whole doctor team come in, like Dr. Artis and Dr. Group and Dr. Ely and Dr. Schmidt, and they spent thousands of dollars doing testing to make, because I told them what was going on, and then they were like, oh, well, there's 2 sides to every story. Let's do the test. And they did the test and bought a bunch of units from these other companies and tested them, and ours works. The other ones don't. They look fairly similar, but if you don't know how to put this stuff together properly, they don't work. And that's why Joseph, as I told him in the beginning, I was like, dude, you got to get this stuff patented. He said, there's no way. I'm like, why? Because he goes, if you get a patent, you have to exactly explain the process, and now the government will know how to make my stuff. And he goes, nobody has it. It's proprietary knowledge. I'm not giving it to anybody. So, check our certification, call the lab to verify our certification. We actually have an at-home test that you can do too, because there are, and it's an energy test, and it's a very simple thing you can do with a multimeter to make sure that the device is working.
I know you got to go. How do we stay in contact? What do you want us to do? What do you got to do? How we do? Because I want to, you got somebody that pinky swear. Ernie says he's going to do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Well, I got your cell phone. I'll reach out to you when I get done here. I got in between meetings today. I got a few shows this morning, and then I'll text you. Give me your email, and I'll send me your address. I'll ship you a bunch of stuff. We'll have a quick conversation, and then we'll get the ball.
I pay you a little bit. I need to pay something just to, get some extra stuff. I mean, whatever. I'm not for just getting a freebie, but the point is that this is what our audience has something to look for. I've been looking for something like this, and I've been convinced by a close friend that this was the way to go, and why he funded the scientist at Washington University. He was responsible for keeping him open, and he's a very intelligent guy that understood that he was on to something.
Awesome.
So that's why I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, this is the stuff. This is the stuff.
You got a guinea pig right here, and I got a voice. So here we go.
Well, we're very excited, and the proof's in the pudding, you know. So, and if people want to check it out, our website's ChemicalFreeBody.com, and we will put a code together for you guys, a discount code, Phoenix. Ernie and I talked about that right before the show, so it's not active right now, but it's a 5% discount code. We'll have it up pretty soon. I'll send that over to you. Maybe you can put it in your show notes. I also have a podcast called Tim James Upgraded, because I'm always upgrading my life and my health. I will never set on where I'm at. I'm always trying to improve. And you can also find me on Instagram at ChemicalFreeBodyGuy. That's pretty much the only social media that we actually are active on.
Well, Donna has it all in the show archive. It's March 18th, 26, and we have it right up there. You go to that archive, and all the links are there. Donna's already put it up.
You know, Thanks, I did this with Charlie Robinson. I did this with Charlie Robinson years ago. He's like, well, let me just try it for 90 days, and we'll get on the products. So we got him on a bunch of products, and then 60 days, it wasn't even 90 days, he sent me a testimony video. he's like, I'm in.
You know, well, Charlie Robinson is a good friend. He like, man, you got to talk to him. You got to do
Sweet.
it. Got to do it. Got to do it. You know, Tim's going to hook you up and take care of business. You got to do it. So I'm like, all right, I got to do it. And then when I heard structured water, I'm going, absolutely, let's do it. So I'm excited because I need my energy back, and I'm feeling. I mean, you know, I'm muscling through. I want to muscle through. I want to doing through. I want to hit.
That's right.
You know, hopscotch all around and, you know, skip around and doing kind of and say, come here, baby. You know, what's up? It's been, you know, 6 hours since we made love. I mean, you know, let's get on it.
All right.
All right. Tim, Tim James, ChemicalFreeBody.com. ChemicalFreeBody.com. This has been very encouraging. And you got a guinea pig, let's do it. You know, awesome. Charlie's made a big deal out of it. It's all built up. You know, you can see from a lot of influences over the years, it's come to where, let's do it.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks
See you
for
next
coming
time.
on. Bye-bye.
Bye.